When we started these debates, the industry, print media, those who subscribe to the Press Council of South Africa, were very much against any intervention, and they were arguing for self-regulation. They even argued that the conversations we were having were a threat to media freedom. But good to our democracy, they initiated conversations through the Press Freedom Commission, and the outcome of that commission was to say, indeed, self-regulation is not working. It identified a whole lot of problems that clearly create an environment that the people of South Africa do not trust self-regulation system. So hence it recommended what it called co-regulation. But unfortunately, what exists now is not the full recommendations of the Press Freedom Commission. Hence my argument that we should not be going in between. All what is internationally regarded as the best is independent regulation. And I really don't see who is a Democrat would object to independent regulation in the public interest. Agreeing on principles of what it must not do, which would be state control or state interference, or even big business control and big business interference. What it must be is independent regulation in the public interest, but it must be protected by law. In South Africa, we have got a lot of models of laws that establishes independent institutions, be it the Independent Electoral Commission, Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, a number of independent institutions established by law and are protected. Their independence is protected in law. There's even jurisprudence that enforce their independence and ensures that they operate independently, including, for example, the recent public protector, which is reinforced by the Constitutional Court. So therefore, having a law is only to protect the public. It does not at all begins to threaten a possibility of state control. No. In the law, you will make sure that it is written that this is an independent regulator that must comply with the Constitution and must promote press freedom, must promote responsible journalism, must create an enabling environment for the growth and development of our industry. Transformation is a key imperative of our constitutional democracy, and print media has to embrace transformation. We have been talking for many years about transformation of print media. We must welcome the initiative by the Department of Communications to now take the discussions forward. The initiatives that were taken by the 4th Parliament and now on the 5th Parliament need to be taken towards an output. And one hopes, therefore, that out of this colloquium will come with tangible positions that will inform the discussion document that will take the process forward. What we cannot do is to stop now. I think the work that has taken place this far, from Parliament to the Media Development and Diversity Agency, through GCIS and the Press Freedom Commission and the Print Media Transformation Task Team, it gives us enough meat to start writing up an output that will help us go forward. So we are, as a country now, in a point where we have spoken enough about the different positions. We have now begun to identify areas of commonality, starting from the reports of the Press Freedom Commission to the Transformation Task Team. They, to a large extent, converge with some of the outcomes of the researches, I think about 2 researches of the Media Development Diversity Agency and recommendations thereof. So now it's a question of taking those and seeing how do we take these forward, what kind of interventions that needs to be agreed to that will help us transform the print media sector. Even as people suggest that print media is dying, in the African context, print media is here to stay. All, therefore, what we need to do is to agree to what extent can we create an enabling regulatory environment for print media that will then take us forward, having regard to the new business models and the future. There is a number of opportunities for upcoming entrepreneurs. They would range from the fact that media literacy in South Africa is still at lowest. There's a huge market out there that has not been tapped. So if you were to produce a product and make sure that it reaches those people who have not had media, who had not consumed print media, surely you have a market. More so if you look beyond the kind of content that exists today. Look in terms of language, what languages to use that people speak. But of course, that opportunity goes with acknowledging and adopting the new media, new technologies, so that you then be creative and innovative in terms of platforms. So you can package a whole full package that will then ensure that you can sustain yourself. More so with the South African policy and strategy on connectivity, broadband connectivity, which then means if you are, for example, going to target a market in a rural area, you can look at the rural areas that have been connected by broadband through USASA and say, how do I take Transform SA, my magazine, to Msinga, to any of the local municipalities that have been connected by broadband, and then test whether people there can consume your magazine on their phones. You market that, and perhaps you could even create some co-op in those areas that could assist you in marketing there. So there is opportunities and innovation. Centrally, the point being there is untapped market.